After watching 2 just plain garbage movies, 3 if you count one I will not be talking about, and the reasons as to why you can find with a quick Google search, I decided to look at a movie that I truly do consider to be not only a guilty pleasure, but a movie that is indeed so bad, it's good. I of course am talking about the cinematic masterpiece, The Meg. The Meg has a pretty simple plot. Jason Statham plays a man who specializes in deep sea rescues, and after one of those rescues goes wrong, he decides to retire to the Philippines and wear a cute little straw hat. But when his old friend comes knocking and says that their exploration mission took a wrong turn, he is called back once again to do what no one else can, and that is go really, really, really deep and pull people up through a hatch. After the deep sea rescue mission, the Meg takes a quick stop by the underwater station to say hi, and then they pretty much just go after it. It's crazy, but that's literally the first half of the movie. I will say this movie does a pretty good job of pulling off some kind of twist. About halfway through the movie, they take down what they think is the only Meg, but to their surprise, there's a second Meg. It's a good way to set up the final act, and also a good way to introduce us to an even bigger, meaner shark for them to take down after kind of a lackluster battle with the first one. It's also funny that Dwight, I'm calling him Dwight because Rainn Wilson is Dwight Schrute, but he wants to handle everything in-house because he's worried about lawsuits. Classic billionaire, am I right? The team behind the Meg special effects also paid a lot of attention when it came to the detail and how they rendered the ocean floor. They even said in an interview that they wanted the movement of the Meg to be as realistic as possible to how a real shark of that size would actually move. I think the attention to detail really shows the first time you see what's below the cloud of gas in the trench. The special effects team even went as far as to create special brushes for rendering the plants and sea life to make sure it felt as much like another world as it possibly could. And this is one area where I think they really succeeded. What I love about this movie so much is the fact that they let Jason Statham just be Jason Statham, and not enough people give him credit for being both an action star, but also his ability for comedic timing. And if you want a real kicker about this movie, it comes from the same director who made both National Treasure movies. I don't think I'm alone in saying that those movies are pretty great, which makes The Meg even more surprisingly fun. I want to say that yes, this movie has some very poor writing, weird pacing at times, and a few major plot holes that when you think about them longer than 2 seconds, you kind of scratch your head. But that's what makes this movie so much fun. It's not only dumb, but the movie kind of knows it's dumb, which makes it even more enjoyable for the viewer. Not to mention the fact that this movie has a lot of familiar faces. You have Jason Statham, who's a well-known and pretty well-liked action star from dozens of movies. You have famous Chinese actress and singer Li Bingbing, who is 51 years old? That's aging at the absolute finest right there. Dwight from The Office is here playing a weird, evil billionaire. Cliff Curtis, who played The Rock's brother in the bad Fast and Furious spinoff that nobody talks about, and he also played a blue guy in Avatar 2 Waterworld, so that's something. Ruby Rose shows up, and she was in some things like Batwoman. You also have Sheriff Walt Longmire, or as I know him better as, the boat captain of the ship Athena in the opening of Kong Skull Island. Why do I distinctly remember him in this role? Who knows? The Meg also does a really good job of showing you the stakes, but also reminding you that nobody is safe in this movie. Oh, you're happy Dwight is here? Dead. Oh, Toshi, a comic relief you were introduced to? Dead. Toshi's best friend who wants revenge for losing his bestie and Toshi gave him a letter to give to his wife? Dead. Sheriff Longmire, who hated Jason Statham in the beginning, but is starting to finally have a character arc? Dead. The super important father figure to the main character and grandpa to the little girl? Dead. The 2 whales that they name? Dead. Now, I mentioned the plot is pretty straightforward and is not without its hard to watch parts. Like how the opening scene is a deep sea submarine rescue where Jason Statham is forced to leave his team and other survivors behind because something is attacking the sub. Then not even 20 minutes later, the movie says that there's no way a Meg could have escaped the cloud of fart gas over the Marinara Trench. So how did a Meg attack a nuclear sub? Why does everyone think Jason Statham is crazy for it when moments after detaching from the sub, it literally exploded? Or the fact that everyone thinks that Jason Statham left a crew member behind even though 2 people literally witnessed him sacrificing himself so they could escape? Or the fact that the local governments don't believe that there's a giant man-eating megalodon out there even though the research team has tons of evidence to prove it? But who cares about any of that when you have Jason Statham taking down a megalodon? The final showdown is Jason Statham in his tiny little sub, and he literally spears and guts the megalodon from the belly up. And then, while holding on to the side of the megalodon, he spears it through the eyeball as it leaps out of the ocean like 30 feet. I mean, how can you not love this kind of nonsensical shit? This is amazing. This is what I live for. I love this. I mean, this is like Jaws, but for dummies.
It's like 25 meters.
It's Megalodon.
He said it! He said it!
There are also some honest attempts at making this movie scary and kind of creepy. I really enjoy the sequence where they use an unbreakable shark cage to try and stick the Meg with poison in order to kill it. And instead of the Meg trying to break the shark cage, it just starts trying to swallow it. That is the definition of working hard for your food. There's a scene where the little girl comes face to face with the Meg, and when it goes to take a bite out of the facility, it leaves a giant bite mark as well as some cracked glass. And as somebody who has massive thalassophobia and also hates the water from almost drowning one too many times, there are a couple scenes in this movie where a character is bobbing up and down in the water, and it does a pretty good job of giving you that eerie, creepy, where is the shark feeling that Jaws did so well. Although besides the giant shark threat and the tragedy it leaves in its wake, the real tragedy is Ruby Rose's hair. All the hair gel to make it all spiky, and then the moment she hits the water, she looks like a wet dog. I also love the fact that one of the characters can't swim even though he works on a research facility in the middle of the ocean. For whatever reason, that's really funny to me. But speaking of funny, the movie has some genuinely funny moments. Cliff Curtis and Jason Statham have incredible banter, and there are some one-liners and quips that make me chuckle every time I watch this movie. Like the moment when Jason Statham swims out to put a tracker on the shark and starts singing "Just Keep Swimming." Does that mean that Jason Statham's character in this universe is a fan of Finding Nemo? Or when Evil Dwight has his own private army make depth charges in order to take the Meg out, and instead he ends up blowing up a whale. Then he falls out of the boat and becomes the Meg's second dinner, a well-deserved end to a very fun character to watch. Or the weird fact that the 8-year-old girl is trying to hook up her mom with the beefcake that is Jason Statham. I think ultimately it makes this movie work is the colorful cast of characters and the fact that they acknowledge that everything they are doing is absolutely crazy. The line from Padge Kennedy's character about how all the people dying were his friends is a good emotional beat in this movie. It matches really well with the scene of the grandfather passing away, and he was kind of the driving force and voice of reason for most of this movie. When it comes to shark movies, there's not a lot out there that I find as enjoyable as The Meg. I mean, you have Deep Blue Sea, where Samuel L. Jackson exits the plot as fast as possible, or Sharknado, which is technically a movie. But besides Jaws, there's just not a shark movie out there that makes me feel the way that The Meg does. So is The Meg worth watching? Yes. Is it good? Not even close. Is it great? Yes. Yes, it is. This is everything you want in a so bad it's good movie, and The Meg does all of it so well. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, check out my video on the movie nobody remembers, Bloodshot. Don't forget to subscribe and comment down below any movies you'd like to see me cover in the future. And with all that being said, I will see you next time.